What's going on? What's going on, guys? This is your boy Jimmy.
Hey guys, this is Rachel.
Thank you all so much for joining us today on Relationship Real Talk for the third episode of our series of Real Marriage, Real Talk. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. As usual, we're looking forward to having a great show. And as we always like to tell you, we're looking forward for you to share this, like, comment, and just come on in the living room.
Come on in the living room. Now, let me tell y'all something. The living room looking a little different today.
Well, yeah, we just added a couple more mics to it.
Yeah, we've had these mics, but they look so podcast-ish. And it's technically not a podcast, but he didn't feel like using some batteries this morning.
I didn't feel like going to buy no more batteries.
Yeah, he didn't want to go buy no more batteries for our, was it the lavaliers?
Yeah, the lavaliers.
As LJ calls it. Yeah. And so that's why you see the mics. We're not just trying to be fancy, but we definitely want y'all to hear us. I want to just, I shouted some of you guys out on the platform, but once again, I see Pastor Mitchell's crew, representing on Facebook today. La Trishelle, thank you for joining us.
Yes, Monroe, baby.
What's up, Keisha Manley, Carla Webb, here with us, Rochelle Smith-Strong, Soleil, also known as goddaughter Dion. I think Chris Blevins was the first one on here.
He was.
So glad that you guys all could join us. Thank you for the hearts.
Miss Herndon.
All right. And forgive me if I say your name wrong, Maciel Herndon.
Yes,
she's from Mobile, Alabama. So we got Alabama. We got Louisiana. Florida. We got Miami.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out.
Oklahoma.
We got Texas. I want to see who's the furthest. Who's listening to us from the furthest distance away?
Well, it'll be a tie between Texas and Miami.
For now.
Yeah.
For now. Because, I remember one time we had somebody all the way in Africa.
Yeah, you're right.
That was watching. But,
before we get started, I just want to bring some attention to something that has caught my eye.
What you about to say?
Baby,
I know about this.
I'm digging that fro hawk of yours. I really am.
I really wish you had not brought attention to that. and let me tell y'all why, since this is real talk and we got to be transparent. I had twisted her up, and ladies, my natural sisters out there, if you feeling me, let me get some hearts, let me get some thumbs up. When you twist it, sometimes the look that you want, you may not get on day one. You may have to wait for day 2, day 3, because the curl wants to tight. It wants to fight against you. It wants to be angry, and you just want it to be free. Give us free. So if it's looking a little lopsided right now, y'all just forgive me. I did the best I could today. But thank you very much for that little commercial. People are sending me love. Carla said we're looking real relaxed. Let me tell y'all what we did today. So my sister had a little insight on this, and we went and got a couples massage. And I didn't say this earlier. I think you tried to one up me, because we're supposed to be going on our anniversary trip.
Oh boy, it took you a long time to get that.
It took me a second. I'm getting a little older. On our anniversary trip,
it sounded like radio
at a resort spa, and I said I wanted to get couples massage. And then my husband was like, babe, you want to go get some couples massages? And of course, I'm not going to deny that. But you know what? I don't care if you're trying to one up me. If it was just, I know it was just coming from the heart.
Yeah, because you were doing this all the time, and I was doing it. I was like, you know what?
Too many. Can you massage my neck? Can I massage yours? That's what happens when you start getting older. For those of you that are concerned about social distancing and all those rules, I had, we had our masks on. Yeah. They had their masks on, and they massaged us from 6 feet away.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. But yeah, that's why we look so relaxed, because yes, it was much needed, necessary. God cover the rest for us, please.
Amen.
But so let me get myself hyped up, since I might be looking a little too relaxed. As you guys know, we've had a series where we've been bringing in couples to come and talk to us, and we've been having some wonderful, great conversation. And my husband, he'll put our email. He'll drop that in the comments in a little while. But if you and your spouse would like to just come in and like in coming weeks and talk with us, we'd be more than happy to have you. You can inbox us if you don't want to bother going to our email. Just let us know who you are and how to contact you, and we will make that happen. But we appreciate the past couples that have come and their transparency that they've shared with us. So, what are we doing today? We wanted to change it up a little bit, and we're still talking about real marriages. However, this is real marriages, real talk, questions. Sometimes, some of you might have questions, and it may not necessarily be related to the topic at hand, but there are, several different types of questions that are burning you, that are important to you or your relationship, and you'd like to ask those questions. So we do have a few questions that we're starting with, that we know is probably going to hit some nerves with a lot of people, as it was with us as we were looking at those questions. But feel free to either drop your question in the comments. But if you want to remain anonymous, just go ahead and inbox us your questions. Depending on how many we get, we may not be able to get to all of them, but we will be more than happy to get to them and try to address them as best as we can.
So let me just say this.
Okay.
We may not be able to answer all of them on the live.
Correct.
But we will respond to the ones that we didn't answer on the live.
There we go.
Yeah,
we'll
respond after the show.
And we want to talk about biblical principles. However, as those what do those biblical principles look like on a practical level? Because I think many of us who are Christians, we've heard scripture after scripture and biblical principles as it relates to relationships, but sometimes people just have a hard time figuring out what does that look like in day-to-day life in a relationship. So we're going to do the best that we can, knocking that thing hopefully out of the park. All right, so what we got, babe?
So we have baseball analogies and everything.
I mean, I just, let me just say this, and I don't know if we want to do this truce on camera in front of everyone, but are we making a truce that no throwing under the bus and no shots fired, or is it a free for all?
Babe, that's not me, that's you. So if you want to make that truce, I'm
I don't have to pull the people in, but we already know because we have video. Nowadays you got to videotape everything. There's power in the video. And so video shows that you have thrown me under the bus several times. What's up, Gloria? One of our faves. And I've shot a few shots,
A few?
I don't know if they landed because I try to humble myself before the Lord. So with that being said, I didn't see our girl, Angela Ruffin. Hopefully she could join us soon.
I just noticed that Angela's not on the show.
All right. Oh, baby. You know what we forgot to do, but that's okay. We'll work it out.
What's that?
We were supposed to prioritize these because some of these topics, people going to go in. And some of them we want to save for a little bit later. Like number one, you just want to go out the bat with that one?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, well, go on and ask the people.
Okay, well, okay. The first question that we got today, I thought was a very, very good question.
Oh, wait. Somebody asked the question, where is that special couple that was supposed to be there last week? Of course, my sister would remember that. We're still working with.
Why'd you read that out loud?
Because people can see it. It's not hidden.
But we didn't have to read it.
I'm gonna address it. Okay, because we supposed to be working in transparency here. This is
there.
Real
She
talk.
is.
Oh, she's here. I was
Angela.
Oh, she said I was the first one in. No shade. Ooh. Angela, I see. Because I said it was Chris, but okay, that's what I saw on the screen. My apologies. Thank you, Angela, for being the first one here. Yes. Just keep them in your prayers. There's some things that health-wise she was dealing with. So we will, just as soon as we can get them on, they are still a yes for us.
Yes.
And sorry to disappoint anybody who was, ready to see that couple or even more couples, but we're not done with the couples. All right. Yeah. But we're gonna rock and roll with what we got going on. All right.
So the first question: how can our marriage get past infidelity? Now we've talked about this on several different occasions, but unfortunately, this is one of the questions that we have to deal with a lot today. And unfortunately, we're gonna address it.
We gotta hit it. I mean, it's one of those hot button topics, and I want to read the definition of infidelity. That way, we all have context. the action or state of being unfaithful to a spouse or sexual partner or someone that you're in a relationship with. Um, and because a lot of times people, you can get into conversations about, well, does it have to be sexual intercourse that took place for it to be infidelity? Does it could it be emotional infidelity where they're talking on the phone? And nowadays it happens a whole lot. People slide up in people's DMs, inboxes, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, there's some unfaithfulness, disloyalty, trust that has been broken as a result of you crossing the line within your marriage and inviting a third party in. So when we talk about infidelity, that's what we're talking about. So how? Notice it didn't say, can it get past infidelity? It says how can, because we all know that there are many people who dealt with infidelity
and survived it.
And
now their marriages are thriving.
Those who choose to do that. So, baby, what you got for them?
Well,
how can it get past infidelity?
Well, we're going to do the steps thing, right?
We're going to do the steps thing.
So I would say step one for the person who was cheated on. Step one, honestly,
the cheatee.
No,
the cheatee. There's the cheater and the cheatee.
Yeah, the cheatee would the first step, I think, has to start there. They have to start with working toward a heart of forgiveness. This is especially, it doesn't even matter, because I was going to say especially if you're trying to save the marriage, but
even if you're not
saying right, you still got to work toward a heart of forgiveness. I think that's step one for the cheatee. But then for the cheater, I think the first step for the cheater is to acknowledge, before you even say I'm sorry, acknowledge the damage that you have done to your spouse and to the commitment into that union. You know what I mean? And once that acknowledgement is there, then I think any apology after that is more from the heart, because you've recognized the damage that you've caused. So what do you have?
Well, and as I'm listening to what you're saying, when you said acknowledge it, I think that's huge, because sometimes, whether it's the male or the female, and let me just go ahead and put this disclaimer out here. If we say he a lot or she a lot, it doesn't mean it only applies to that one gender. It could be either one in either situation. But that acknowledgement piece is huge, because first of all, how can you move on if you don't acknowledge?
Exactly.
And there's been so much hurt that has taken place that the cheatee will be in a situation where that hurt will start to grow to a point where it turns into resentment and it festers.
Or maybe even hate.
And hate. Ladies, give me some hearts if you know what I'm talking about, as it relates to even like while they're sleeping, you looking at them like, do I need to get the hot grits, the hot oil, or what have you? Ooh. And when I say these, I'm being facetious, but it's because it's that thing that's like, how could you have done that to me and not acknowledge it and then not try to make it right within our relationship? Because infidelity doesn't just hurt the person who was cheated on. There's a myriad of people involved in that. Anyone that's connected to it, the siblings of the person that was cheated on, the parents, the children.
Everybody is being impacted.
Everybody is being impacted by it. So once you acknowledge it, I really feel like, and we've talked about this before too, as it relates to maturity. When you've been hurt, when emotions are involved, sometimes it's very difficult to come up with a plan or sit down and talk rationally without letting your emotions get out of control. So you might have to get a mediator to help you kind of sort out what's going on. Because when somebody cheats, that's just the action.
Right.
And when I say just, I'm not downplaying the hurt. But when I say it's just the action, there's something else that's beneath the layers that caused that person to even make that decision. And when I say that caused them, they still made the decision to do it. That's how it manifested itself. But you can't negate the whole picture of what's going on. Why did you even think it was a good idea? If you made a commitment to that person to step out of it, what needs are not being met? And let's say the needs are met. Are there some other things that are going on, some perversion type things that are going on in some relationships?
So we want to get to the steps.
So what was your first step?
The first step for the cheatee was to forgive, and the cheater was to acknowledge.
Right.
So what would you say
the second step is come up with a plan on how you guys are going to resolve that hurt that took place in that relationship. And when I say come up with a plan, either you and that person do it, or you might need a mediator to do it.
To resolve the hurt?
To resolve everything. Like, because sometimes you, like I said, because of your emotions, you don't even know where to start in the conversation. Right. You follow what I'm saying?
And I'm glad you brought up the fact, because a lot of times people want to convince themselves that there is no reason a person should cheat.
Watch out now.
Right.
Let me say this, and please, people, feel free to comment and give your input as we're talking.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not suggesting that there is a legitimate reason for a person to cheat.
That's right.
I'm just simply saying, if there's a reason for you to defend yourself, there is a reason for other things as well too, even though we don't like it. Like we've discussed this before.
Please explain.
Sometimes we've created an atmosphere that would make that thought process easy for someone. Then there are other times where they were just simply greedy and undisciplined, selfish, right?
Right.
But there are times when people, we tend to sometimes neglect people, and the last thing we're considering is that they would go to that level.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And I don't want, and again, I am not making an excuse for cheating. But if we're talking about resolving the problem, you have to resolve all of the angles that could have caused the problem if there was a legitimate reason for the problem to exist outside of greed, selfishness, and pride. You
That's right.
And so we have to make sure. And I think a lot of times especially if I'm the cheatee, I'm the one that got hurt. I don't want to consider what I was depriving you of. I don't want to consider that, I was never at home. I'm always working. I'm always hanging out with my boys, or I'm always doing this. I'm always doing that. I never want to consider that.
The part that you played in
exactly.
You actually were getting to what I was going to go back to, the definition of infidelity, the action or state of being unfaithful to a spouse or a sexual partner. And exactly what you just said. You can be unfaithful in other things.
Right.
Aside from so when you think about infidelity, you could have carried out that same infidelis act. I can't think of another word for it.
Girl, you sounded like Jesse Jackson right
I
there.
just made it up. I just made it up. Somebody help me out here. But you can carry out an act where you are unfaithful. But in our society, we tend to put, when it's sex or you've been, having an inappropriate relationship with somebody else.
That's the only one that really matters.
That's the only one that really matters, because it just hits home a little bit more. But it doesn't mean there weren't other unfaithful acts that were taking place that contributed to the toxicity of the relationship.
Right. So we have forgive, acknowledge, make a plan,
come up with a plan
to get to resolve the hurt. Okay. And then what else would you say?
Here's what I would say, and this is a biggie. Because when you've been cheated on, the cheatee, the person who's been cheated on, you constantly want to remind and don't get me wrong, and I'm going to say this gently because I know there are a lot of people out there that have been hurt by that.
So you cover that angle, and I'm going to cover the cheater's angle.
Yeah. So the cheatees, like, you're so hurt, you always want to be like, so if you did this, then why'd you go here? And then why'd you go there? And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that there's not a responsibility on the cheater's part. And he'll talk about that. But if you both say, we are committed to making this relationship work, despite what has taken place, then now it's time to move forward in your commitment. The enemy will make you, let's rebuke him. He will make you continue to comb through your mind of all the possibilities and all the endless things that where your mind will go. Why did they pick them, and what did they do with them, and how did this happen, and how many times? And women talk about this all the time, like, do you want to know all the details? Do you not want to know all the details? For some people, the details are going to drive you straight up crazy and become a poison for your growth and the health of your relationship.
Right. So
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because I don't know if I can hear me. But for the for some people, they want to know everything because it calms them to where they don't continue to think about all the possibilities.
It really doesn't calm them.
Yeah, but you just have to be willing to resist the urge,
right,
to put it in their face. And if you say you're going to trust, then begin that process of trust.
Got you. Now, as the cheater, and this is what I like to talk to clients about. As the cheater, you do not have the right or responsibility of telling the person you hurt how long they should hurt.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And although Rachel explained from the other perspective, the cheatee can't hold it over their head.
Right. That's what I mean. Like,
right. No, I'm saying you shouldn't, if you've decided to move forward, you cannot hold that offense over that person's head.
Right.
But the cheater has to understand the damage that has been done.
That's right.
That hurt doesn't go anywhere overnight. That hurt doesn't dissipate just because you all made the decision to try to work it out.
That's right.
Secondly, you cannot continue to do the same things you did that gave her the suspicions that you were cheating before she actually found out. So if it was hanging out with your boys all the time, or hanging out with your girls all the time, if it was you always at the store, you always going out of town, or whatever it was that gave him or her the indication that something may be amiss, you can't continue doing those things without understanding that it may make that person suspicious again. So you have to change your lifestyle, your way of thinking, your way of behaving, so you can give your spouse the comfort, the security that they need in you and their relationship.
And simply put, when you are an infidel, you sacrificed your relationship.
Did you say an infidel?
I did. A person who carries out infidelity.
Oh,
yeah, we rolling. But when you sacrificed your relationship for whoever, whatever this other thing was, you then now have to sacrifice the very things that were contributing to that act.
Exactly.
Which is what you just said. I'm just summing up what you just said. So if it means you liked hanging out with your fellas, you may not be able to do it as much because you lost that privilege.
Yeah,
in essence.
Yeah, you lost it, but I think it's even more egregious than that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Go on with the egregious.
Because not only did you lose that privilege, you sabotaged that privilege. You sabotaged the trust in your relationship. And in a lot of cases, this is what I tell, anyone I'm talking to, but primarily, I talk to guys a lot more often than I talk to females. And when I talk to the fellas, I'm always like, guys, listen, I would suggest that you not do whatever it is you don't want your girl doing.
Did y'all just hear that? I'm gonna give him some snaps for that.
If you would be uncomfortable with your girl doing with another guy what you're doing with another female, you know it's wrong, right? And you should shy away from it immediately, because a lot of times men tend to have this ideology that we can do stuff women can't do.
The culture has supported that with comments like, well, you know how men are.
Right.
I've just never given into that concept of,
because that's a bunch of foolery. That's a bunch of foolery. I agree with you. And so those are, and so when we now individually take responsibility, I'm the cheater. I've taken the responsibility of acknowledging that I was wrong. I've taken the responsibility of acknowledging the damage I've done to my wife. I've taken the responsibility of acknowledging the damage that I've done to our relationship, the trust in our relationship. Now I have to alter my mind and my behavior to, especially when we've said we want to work it out, right? We want to work it out. So now I can no longer do those things that I was doing prior to her finding out my dirt, right?
That's right.
And I cannot force her or try to encourage her to get over it any sooner, any sooner than time is going to permit.
That's right.
I can't rush her into forgetting and
Or
forgiving
him.
or him,
Right,
right? But
right.
I'm speaking as the
Yeah,
cheater.
I
I'm the
got you.
cheater.
You're the
I
cheater.
can't I can't expect you to just get over it real fast because we made the decision to work forward. That's not my place to do. I know now that I brought this consequence up. And so now I have to live as the old folks used to say, now you done made your bed, now lie in it.
Now you got to lie in
So
it.
I have to lie in it until you have healed. And
Uh,
hopefully God can get
le-
you through that process in a reasonable time frame. And notice I said reasonable. I didn't give you no time. In a reasonable time frame. But like you said, the other person don't have the right or responsibilities to hold it over their head eternally.
if that relate you expect that relationship to continue.
Exactly.
And I know LaTroy and Christina, they're probably not on right now. If you haven't listened to LaTroy and Christina, they're with Married for Real.
Yes.
And their testimony has to do with the infidelity that took place in their marriage. And one of the things that she said, I thought it was so powerful because she said she was just so angry. She was just so she was so hurt that she couldn't even get herself to, even though she knew she loved him, she didn't even see how the marriage was going to continue. But she said she had to look at him as a brother. What she had to do in her mind was not even look at him as my husband anymore. This is a brother that needs help.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
when she said that, I thought that was so powerful because what that does is it changes everything. Because think of a brother. You'd be mad at him. Dude, why would you do that?
Right.
Well, how could you hurt her like that? How could you hurt him like that? So on and so forth. But when you think of a sibling, what are you going to do? You still going to love them?
You're going to try to nurture them
You're
back to
going to
health.
try to nurture them back to health.
Right.
You're going to try to be patient with them because that's sickness
Right.
that's taking place. And that sickness has to be nursed back to health. And nurse does not mean enable.
Right.
But to nurse, you're empowering them towards doing what's right. So I think that's a powerful concept as it relates to infidelity.
And I think you close that out.
You think so?
Magnificently.
You can show a few of the comments.
Yeah, because I do want to show a comment. One of the people on on Pastor Mitchell's watch party, they started a watch party. Pastor Mitchell, thank you guys. They started a watch party for us. He said someone on my wife's watch party said men can't take what they dish out. And as a man, she right. Whoever said it.
And you've said that several times at the barbershop.
You know good and well we can't take it.
They can't even take if their wife was flirting or looking at some other man.
Exactly. We look. You want to send a brother to prison soon? let him see that.
Listen. Look at what La Trishelle said.
La Trishelle.
Diary of an angry black woman. Don't do it, Harpo. You tell Harpo beat me. Well, Carla said something I thought was interesting. If you could scroll back to what she said. It's a little bit towards the top, baby. Okay, a little bit towards the top. There we go. She says, although the healing process is a process, the cheater needs to ensure the acknowledgement and the apology is clear and heartfelt so that the cheatee can heal properly and that comfort. I don't know if you had something to be continued there.
She just stopped.
Maybe in that comfort is there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because and that's true. Even when we're hurt, we recognize a sincere apology.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
And even when we're hurt, we recognize somebody acknowledges they're wrong.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? There's a difference between saying I'm sorry because you got caught than saying I'm sorry because I genuinely understand the damage and the wrong that I've done.
That's right.
It's a clear difference. And a lot of times, unfortunately, in this society, we're so accustomed to people only saying I'm sorry because they got caught or they're receiving some backlash that they weren't anticipating.
Not what I did,
right?
What I did.
They're getting some backlash that they didn't anticipate getting. And
right.
so Carla hit that nail dead on the head. Thanks, sis.
As we get ready to transition to the next question, I want to say a unifying theme as it relates to relationships and moving on is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible talks about forgiveness and how often we should forgive.
Mm.
70 times 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I checked and did that math, that's 490.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
does it?
that was
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
it
but
wasn't
that was
literal,
it.
but
I was just about to say that
right, but he's
you
mean just
stealing my words.
keep forgiving.
It's not literal; it's figurative. So
Right.
that doesn't mean on the 491st time
I'm done.
you're done. And I think that was the one thing I forgot to mention as the cheatee. If you say you're gonna work on it, you gotta be willing to forgive, even if you're working on it and the cheater continues on their path.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is for you, not for them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hold on to it. A lot of times we say, Lord, please help me to forgive this person. Okay, I've forgiven them. But in actuality, we made a carbon copy, old
Mm-hmm.
school. We made a copy of it,
Mm-hmm.
or we
Mm-hmm.
copied and pasted it.
Right. And we
Okay,
got to
just
say
for a
just in
2020.
case. Right.
And then the minute things get bad, we bring it back up.
Right. Right.
And I truly believe learning to forgive is the work of a lifetime, as far as in the way that God really wants us to do it.
Girl, you just got cuter to me because say that one more time. Forgiveness is
You know
what?
what? Sometimes when you look at me, I don't know if your eyes are saying go to the next question, or are you giving me Google eyes. I said learning to forgive is the work of a lifetime,
It
because,
is.
and when I say the work of a lifetime, it doesn't mean you can't ever sincerely forgive.
Right.
However, doing it in the way that your heart has got to be in a special place
Mm-hmm.
to be able to forgive. I mean, think about the most heinous things. And of course, I'm not going to touch on the
Don't even
current
bring it up.
affairs. However, the worst thing you can think of in your mind is not something that's outside of the realm of what God would expect us to forgive.
Or what he would forgive even on our behalf.
Right. So that's just a
Right.
powerful thing.
Right.
All right, baby.
So the next question. What do you do when you and your spouse are sexually incompatible?
Did y'all just hear that question?
Oh, he's
Okay,
so
people.
silly.
Okay, people. I mean, we're gonna talk about it, but we're gonna put y'all on Front Street. We need y'all to talk about it, okay? Because sometimes people tend to think that the Bible, sex and the Bible are like opposing one another, or
Oh
like
no.
that.
Solomon
They never read the Song of Solomon.
Solomon was getting it in.
Yeah,
he
they were getting it
he
in.
painted some pictures. I had to go back and like, okay, what did he talk?
And here's what's deep. When you think about, the Christian walk and Christianity, for those of you who are Christians, the Bible speaks of not participating in sexual activity before you're married, right?
Right.
So some people might have the question, so how if you're sexually compatible if you don't take what some people like to say? I like to take the car for a test drive.
Yeah.
You knew that answer too quick.
Yeah.
Test ride. Y'all heard that? Test ride.
You said
Yeah.
some people.
Uh-huh,
I know a lot of them people.
You was too excited on that part. I'm gonna need you to calm down. So if you didn't take the car for a test ride,
you don't know if you're compatible or not. Huh?
You don't know if you're compatible or not.
Well, that's because they're not talking.
I was gonna say you may not physically figure that out, but are you having that conversation? So the first thing I would say is, if you're not in a relationship, it's totally healthy. If that's somebody that you could see you spending the rest of your life with, there's nothing wrong with talking about what your desires are, the things that to see if you're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do you think a week is okay?
Mm-hmm.
How many times do I think a week is okay?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, baby, what would you say about that? What do you do when you and your spouse are sexually incompatible?
Well, and that is a very, very great question, and it is a commonly discussed question, right?
Wait, amongst privately,
couples.
Okay,
amongst couples, that is a highly, because, and then we also have to remember something. As we progress in life together as couples, things happen, right? So we have to make sure. This is what I would say. If you're in a relationship and you find out that you and your spouse are sexually incompatible, I would then ask you to really sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation.
Definitely.
Exactly how are you incompatible? Is it a scenario, right? Is it a scenario where I like sex, you don't? Or is it a scenario where
you want her to swing from the chandelier,
right? And and she don't want to do that, or you want him to
she
do
ain't
some
that flexible.
right. You want him to do some things that he's not accustomed to doing. Yes, that can be sexual incompatible, being sexually incompatible, but how do you get past that? This is what I'll say to couples, and especially those of us who are of the Christian persuasion, because a lot of us have been deceived into not enjoying sex the way we should with our significant other. The Bible clearly says that the marriage bed is undefiled. So whatever you two are agreeing with inside of your bedroom, you're good
under God.
Right. You're not violating the marital vows. I'm not
we
talking
ain't
about bringing
no bestiality or nothing like that.
Yeah, that stuff is in there. God said that ain't
that's
good.
what I'm saying.
And we ain't talking about we ain't talking about swingers, and we're not talking about threesomes and all that stuff. That's not what we're talking. We're talking about that intimacy, that physical intimacy between you and your significant other.
That's right.
You have no limits as long as you two are with it.
Right.
So we got to get out of that mindset. Well, we shouldn't be doing this, and we shouldn't be. Well, now the only time you should stay away from a particular act is if one of you all are not comfortable doing it.
Right. And you know where that comes from, babe? And then let me just address that, because I know amongst Christian women, that's a big deal. Even with the ones who are getting it in, whether they married, not married, it because the
What do you mean by getting it in? I'm not familiar with that term.
You're trying to be funny. Can we move on?
Go ahead.
But the thing is, now you're making me lose my train of thought. What I was gonna say is, as Christians, we have all heard that same sermon preached that comes across like sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad. Let's be clear, and let me finish my statement, honey, before you jump in. You may not jump in on this statement. Sex is not bad under the confines that God has given it for. Like the act itself, he gave that to us. Mm-hmm. He gave it to Adam and Eve in the garden. Mm-hmm. But what happens is, as a child, when it's presented as a bad thing, mm-hmm. even when you are married and it's legit and you could be actually getting it in with no guilt, mm-hmm. it takes a while to erase that guilt, because you were told for so long. Like, and when I say it takes a while, it's going to vary from person to person. And I wish our couple was on, because she had actually said that on her video one time. Right. She said she was like, her and her husband finished getting it in. She's like, oh Lord, like I feel like I'm going to hell.
I'm walking that guilt of shame.
I'm walking the walk of shame.
Yeah, the walk of shame.
To the bathroom.
That was hilarious.
And so yes, this is real talk. Somebody said we really talking, right? And so, ladies, we have to get into the mindset of understanding that the marital bed is undefiled. God blessed it. It is something that he expects us to do. It is a gift that he has given to man and woman, mm-hmm. and we are supposed to enjoy it.
And here's another thing I mm-hmm. want to say along those lines, mm-hmm. because here's another lie that we've heard out of our churches that's from the pit of hell. That sex is only meant for procreation. That's a lie.
Watch out now. Read Song of Solomon.
Yeah, I mean, when
you're supposed to be enjoying the fruit.
What? I'm looking at my little apple tree right now, and I'm thinking,
but let me tell you something. But sometimes, if you try to pick an apple every day, I mean, I know they say apple a day.
That's right.
Keeps the doctor
That's
away.
Why I use apple, because I knew you was gonna condemn yourself.
But you can't
by
keep
trying
that
to
tree.
Deprive me of my apple every day.
But you just can't empty the tree of apples.
You can't never get rid of all the apples on the tree, girl.
She got to be able to come up for air, y'all. Just
See,
give me.
Look at the pastor. He say that.
Listen,
classmate.
just give me some hearts if you understand where we're coming from. But yes, I see some comments. The conversation has to be had.
It does.
It must be had.
But let's look at this comment.
It has to happen before marriage. Yes.
It says conversations must be had. One of the 10 rules of dating. Nothing wrong with being open and honest. He or she needs to know your needs and how they can be met. And let's just be real. Some of these things aren't needs. They're definitely pleasures, preferences. So this, we got to get out of that word need, because mm-hmm. you don't need it. You may want it real badly. And if you consider it a need, there will be no mm-hmm. there will be no compromise with you.
Right. And
you see what I'm saying?
Here's the other thing. You could have been sexually incompatible as far as one person had way more experience than the other.
Exactly. I
Okay.
was going
And
there.
so I'm sorry, baby. So
Go ahead. No, you're
sometimes
good.
you have to get your baser passions into subjection.
Right.
You understand
Yeah.
what I mean? What that means, it doesn't mean that those things cannot arise in its time, but you can't expect you've been hitting on 20 for the past 20
Right.
years,
Right.
and somebody else, they if they had sex, they didn't have it as often,
Or there were
or
certain sexual acts
acts,
that you
right,
were accustomed to.
accustomed to,
Because I had to get
and
used
they
to
were.
you. I was like, okay, babe, I'm not used to that, but I mean, that's what you
Oh
want.
my gosh, y'all, congregation. I know y'all up in this living room. I need y'all to pray for me, okay? Because at the beginning of this, I thought we were trying to have a truce
Oh,
about
I'm sorry, I forgot.
about not throwing folks under the bus, but I think I have some tire marks on my back and arms, but I think I might recover. But yeah, that's true. So you got to be patient. So let's go back to, like, what do you need to do when you're having the conversation? Let's say you didn't have it before.
Right.
You just fell on into it, things seem off. Or let's be quite honest, as you grow older and as you grow in that relationship, sometimes your desires change, your libido changes.
I was just gonna say that.
Women, holla if you hear me. As you're going through menopause, your libido might drop, and the libido might also drop in the man too. That can happen as well.
Yes.
And so there has to be some understanding. There has to be, okay, baby, maybe not every day, but then I can't sit back and maybe say, well, we're not going to have it any time in 1 week period. So at the end of the month, you only got it twice because of my lowered libido. So really, it's a thing of conversating and trying to get everybody satisfied.
Right. And also too, I'm glad you brought that up, because there are so many different reasons outside of infidelity, a bad relationship, that the sexual drives can change. To be quite honest with you, a lot of people are dealing with medical issues. Some of the medications that people are on, or some of the diseases that people are dealing with, can cause certain things.
This is true.
And so and oh my goodness, I don't know who all's on here and your ethnicity, but I'm just going to talk to my black people. My black people, we have to be careful about what we're putting in our mouths. The foods that we're eating.
Oh, I thought he was talking about something else, y'all, because we were talking about sex.
He's so stupid.
He just
the
threw me off there
foods
for a
that
minute.
we're eating can cause physical damage that can hurt that particular area that we're talking about. And so the things that we're drinking, so we have to be very, very careful and cognizant of what we're putting in our body. So there's so many different reasons why our incompatibility sexual can take place. So we want to make sure that we're covering all the angles. We want to make sure that we're covering having the conversations. We want to make sure that it's not a physical thing. We want to make sure that it's not a psychological thing.
Right.
So all of those things that it could be,
you have to be able to rule out.
There you go.
Some stuff.
There you go.
Because if it's just a matter of, like the pastor said, compromising and figuring out, okay, baby, I can do this, but you got to give me some time on this, or nope, this is definitely something I can't do.
Right.
But let me throw out a tidbit here.
Says, say what?
When
we were thinking like you.
What was she saying? Say what to, babe?
I guess when I say we got to be careful what we're putting in our mouths.
Right.
I say what?
Right.
No, I wasn't even talking about that.
A mile a day keeps the bedroom frowns away. But what I was gonna say is a little tidbit. And I think I heard this on Dr. Oz, but they were saying that even with male impotence, let's say it's a health issue, sometimes there's no erection because there's actually a cholesterol issue, arteriosclerosis, because what we know is the reason why it gets erect is because of blood flow.
Right. Exactly.
But if blood flow is constricted, then you're not going to get a full erection. And so what's so deep is there are people that have found that they have heart disease and different issues with their cardiovascular system because they failed to get an erection.
Wow.
So just imagine how lives can be changed just from going through that checklist. Is this psychological? Is this emotional?
Right.
And sometimes, let me just say this last one, because I know we got time. Sometimes, especially for women, and I was telling my husband this earlier, emotional connection, like when if a woman does not feel emotionally connected to a man, I mean, unless you just kind of hard up and you're like, it's been a minute, so I go ahead and get it. But a lot of times women will hold out a whole lot longer because emotionally they don't like the way they're being treated, talked to, for whatever reason, they're disconnected. Men, even though they could still have emotional disconnections, because it's such a physical need for them. They still like, well, I can still go and knock it out and keep it moving.
Well, and not only that, I think we're a little bit more rational about the situation, because if I'm not getting it from you, I'm not obligated to get. I'm not, I can't go nowhere else and get it.
You certainly should.
So my point is, if I can't go nowhere else and get it, I don't care what state our relationship in. Hey, let's do what we got to do.
Right, because for men, okay, let me throw out a book out there.
Women, if y'all feel me, just go and give me some hearts, fellas.
Ladies,
and ladies
we're
too.
here.
Ladies too, because y'all like that too.
There's this book called Power of the Praying Wife or Power of the Praying Wives by Stormy O'Martian. And her and her husband, they write a lot of books. And she was talking about that. As you read it, it really explains to you how physiologically men are wired to where sex is a need. Now, don't get me wrong, y'all can't use that as an excuse for, she is healthily giving it up, and you just, being greedy and you just want more.
Right.
But literally, when they don't, especially a sexually active male, when they don't, it does, like, they can't think, they're clouded. So a lot of times when a woman's emotional needs are not met, she has a hard time giving of herself sexually. And when men's sexual needs are not met, they have a hard time giving of themselves emotionally.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that, because that's going to help. That's going to help answer this question. So this is a question from Angela. She said, "How do you go back to the bedroom after infidelity?" And it goes back to the steps that we gave. And let's just say, Angela, the cheatee is the person struggling with going back to the bedroom after infidelity.
Definitely.
If you've committed to forgiving, right? If you've committed to forgiving, I do believe that a rational, reasonable person for some time frame can understand if we're not going to be sexually intimate.
Right.
A rational, reasonable person.
I agree.
However, even the Bible says that we should not withhold that from your spouse without it being an agreement and without it being too long.
You do it for such a time.
Right.
And then you come back.
You don't, because then it becomes a punishment.
Can I suggest something to Angela here?
Shoot.
I think when infidelity has taken place, and as we all know, trust has been broken.
Yes.
I think it's time to court one another again.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say court one another, go back to basics. And if those basics were perverted, and when I say perverted, meaning they weren't the right foundation.
Okay. All right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Got you. Mm-hmm.
Then it's time to rebuild something.
Right. To start over
and have a strong foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just talking about superficial cleansing. I'm talking about deep cleansing.
Deep internal
and then
cleansing.
Move yourself back to, okay, we're talking more, we're connecting more emotionally. The cheater and the cheatee are expressing their feelings without fear of judgment or condemnation.
Mm-hmm.
They're dating again. That type of thing. And the pace looks different from person to person.
Exactly. Couple
to couple, and how you do it. But for me, like, if I'm thinking about me, I wouldn't want to just rush back into that.
Right.
I would want to know that, you know what, our foundation is firm, and we've at least, the house has fallen. Everything is destroyed, but let's rebuild.
Yeah, we're at least cleaning it up. And planning
excavation.
On the rebuild. Right, we're planning on the rebuild.
We're planning on the
rebuild. But seriously, I think we have to get to that point to get back to that. Yeah, she says, okay, I'm not living it. We figured that,
for whoever you might want to share with,
whoever may, or whoever has that question. You know what I'm saying? You have to start with that thing of forgiving and honestly being able to forgive, and then you like Rachel said, sit down and kind of say, listen, we need to hold off on that for a minute, because honestly, right now I'm not there, and I can't pretend like I am in this moment, you know. But my advice would be to anyone, male or female, don't prolong that drought.
Right. Like,
you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because the reality is, that can become a punishment.
Right.
And that's not what we're trying
to. And it no longer has to do with the growth process.
Exactly.
But I'm just going to continue to use this as, a weapon to hurt you because you hurt me. And that's a whole deep thing. Like I said, sometimes you need an intercessor. We have, Jesus is our intercessor, but you need a physical person
mediating
on your behalf.
All right, so let's go to this third question.
Let's go to the third
Yeah,
question.
because I
And
wanna.
I actually, and as I look at the time, I'm thinking we should jump. Go ahead and pull it up.
Okay, it's up.
Oh, I was gonna say go to that fifth one because it's 6:50.
Oh
So
wow. So
yeah,
we're gonna
yeah.
skip the. Okay,
We're
well let's go to the fifth one then.
because I think that that one.
You wanted to get to this one, didn't
Well, baby, when we did this, he's trying to be funny, but we actually did this as a presentation,
you? Yeah, we did.
and it was very impactful as it related to figuring out what people's expectations were. And there many times people are upset with one another because of unrealistic expectations, or one person thinking it's unrealistic and the other person thinking it's realistic. Something just happened to my computer, babe. I was trying to pull it up. I might have to just pull it up on my phone.
Okay, well
uh,
I wanna
Go ahead with the
bring up
comment.
Miss Chisley's comment. She said sometimes the intimacy does not have to be physical.
That's
I
right.
agree with you. My husband can walk through the door from a long day at work. When we engage in a kiss, will take me in. Yes, indeed. And listen, here's a mistake I think a lot of women also make, or a misconception a lot of women have,
Okay.
is that we always want to have sex, the intercourse. A lot of men, that's our default when nothing else is working.
But y'all want to have
No,
sex.
no, 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 no.
And a
I,
lot
I
of
saw
it.
a post. I saw a post on Facebook. It
Okay.
literally brought me to my knees in laughter. It says, "Let's really have Netflix and cuddle." It said, "Let's really do that." And then it said, "But if you want to, we can."
Okay, baby.
But I'm just saying,
I'm
we
receiving.
we will take it. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that's not always our goal. Like for me, for instance, I I love physical touch. And I'm not talking about sexual physical
I
touch.
got you, baby.
Just, caressing you
Mm-hmm.
caressing me
Mm-hmm.
doesn't always mean sex for me,
Right.
right?
So if you
So
had to put a percentage on it for men,
mhm.
if you don't want to do it for
Well, I
yourself,
can't speak for
if you
men.
but if
I
you had
can't
to
I
speak
don't
for you,
okay, for me,
because you're
okay.
saying men don't always just
Right.
want. So what's the percentage? Are we talking
For
90,
me,
90, 10? Yeah,
well,
like,
well, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, for me, like I said, I don't always want to do it, but I'm probably about 99.999.
and then point zero
Nine.
zero one cuddle.
Right, right.
I'm about to say, because honey, the name of this thing is Relationship Real
Woo.
Talk,
So
real couples,
they
real
just
marriages.
they just got the ring.
And all I'm saying is, you're right. There is that 0.001% of time that
Right.
all you want to do is cuddle.
Mhm.
But women, we are not fooled. We know that at the end of the day, they would love to be the first option, right? But as we talk about that question, how do I know if my expectations are unrealistic?
Mm.
My husband and I, we did a presentation for Madison Mission. Maybe it's been over a year now,
It has been. It was a
and
workshop we
it was
did.
a workshop we
Yeah.
did, and it was called Drowning Marriages.
Hmm.
And we wanted this to be something because when you're dealing with marriages, it's hard for people to just put themselves out there. We wanted to be anonymous, so we had this activity where they could submit their responses in a snowball and of what they thought was an unrealistic expectation.
Right.
All right. But they needed some sort of a guideline as a group that we can discuss each one. So I'm going to give you guys the five. Um, we're laughing at what Angela said. I do not believe that. They wish to cuddle to lead to sex. You're right. All right. So here are the five. And we did do some research on this, and we'll probably put the information up as far as the research that we got for how do you know if your expectations are unrealistic. Number one, the first thing is if you expect your partner to think like you.
Hmm.
Now think about that for a minute. Sometimes you just automatically think that they're a mind reader, or they think the way and process the way you do.
Hmm.
Number two, you expect everything to be perfect and there'll be no conflict from time to time.
Hmm.
Like everything was supposed to be great. The
Hmm.
minute one little thing happens, you lose it, and all of a sudden your marriage is falling apart.
Right. In your mind.
In your mind,
Right.
conflict is a necessary and really regular part of life.
It-
I mean, it's going to happen because
right.
people are different. Number three, you expect your spouse to be perfect and never make mistakes.
Mm.
Let's marinate on that one.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yes.
Number
Babe, I
four,
thought you said you weren't gonna try to throw yourself under the bus.
throw myself under the bus. No, that's your job. Number 4, you expect both of you to feel the same, even with the ebbs and flows of marriage.
Right.
When things happen, everybody's not going to react to it the same way.
Exactly.
And then number 5, you expect your marriage to work itself out,
Mm.
even though it is headed in the wrong direction.
This one right here
Now
is
here's the thing about this one that's so deep. Many times people say I don't have money for counseling. And I'm not saying this just because we do this.
Mhm.
Just period. We say, "Oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it." But yet, it's all about where your priorities lie,
And what you hold valuable.
what you hold valuable. Now, I'm not talking to those people who are destitute and really just trying to feed themselves and can barely keep a roof over their heads.
Mhm.
But we go to the dentist at least twice a year. Some of us, we go to the doctor at least once a year. We get our oil change more often than both of those, at least every 3 months.
Mhm.
But when our marriage is in trouble, we just continue to push, 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 or push it under the
Suppress,
rug,
suppress, suppress.
suppress,
Right.
suppress, suppress. And then when things get really ugly, it's like we're destitute now.
Well, let me even piggyback on that.
Piggyback.
I am often amused by people who say, "Oh, I can't afford that." But let the new Nikes come out. Let a new pair of shoes come out that you really want.
Or it's a new wig that you
Let
got that you
what?
listen.
Yes.
I'm just keeping it real.
Let a new iPhone or Android come out.
Right.
You on top of it like white on rice, and you'll wait in a long line to do it. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
But when it comes to the equipping and betterment of our marriages, we don't hold that in a lot of cases as valuable as we do a shoe, a phone, or something else that's superficial, or a wig, as you were saying.
Right, right.
So
And
we have to make sure that we're placing the right amount of value on our marriages and relationships.
and picking our battles as it relates to expectations. It doesn't mean you can't have an expectation that may not be based on a particular principle. It could be something you like and your spouse can meet that expectation, but it shouldn't be a thing upon which you're holding resentment.
Mhm.
Your marriage is about to fall apart because remember the example we always talk about.
Mhm.
Um, we had a couple where she just mentioned she was used to her dad growing up locking all the doors, um, checking on all the doors at night,
Mhm.
and that sounds very reasonable,
Mhm.
for her to want that. But apparently, it didn't cause major contention, but it was a thing of like that's not the way he was wired. That's
Well,
not something he
no,
was.
actually, she was a little agitated. They had a
She
lot of
was.
conversations about
She
it.
was, but it wasn't like I wouldn't say,
It was
in
going to
talking
end the
with the
marriage.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
no,
gonna
no,
end the
it wasn't
marriage,
that.
but she was passionate
Right,
about like a man makes sure that the doors are locked.
right, right.
And yes, many times, we do expect the man to protect,
Mhm,
and part of that protection is making sure this house was safe.
mhm.
But is it something that you're gonna hang everything on?
No, Uh,
Is
and I
it
like that you gave the 5 ways to know if your expectations are unrealistic. And I want to add something a little bit, something else that I think we can all wrap our teeth around. That is, let's just say, in theory, your request or expectation is not unrealistic, but for your spouse, it is. For instance, you may want your spouse to cook because, let's just say your
you
wife.
tired of cooking?
No, well,
Shoot.
no, well, let's just say this. You grew up in a house where your mama cooked every day, but you married a woman that can't cook. She ain't never
Well,
cooked.
you should have known that before
She
they got
didn't cook
married.
when you was dating. You took her out all the time, right? And so magically, after you say I do, you expect her to get in that kitchen and know how to burn like your mama knew how to burn.
She gonna burn all right.
That's right.
Burn that
That's
kitchen down.
that's unrealistic for her. Now,
Right,
I'm not suggesting that she can't learn the skill of cooking,
right,
but for you to expect her to be able, for you to even expect her to desire to want to do it, if that's something she's never done,
right,
is unrealistic, and so it's
right.
just little things like that sometimes we take into our relationship, and we really get upset when it's not being fulfilled. So when we're talking about how do I know if my expectations are unrealistic, you know that they're unrealistic when you see your spouse is really not capable of doing it, or they're just choosing not to do it. It's unrealistic for you to keep expecting them to.
Now let me say this, and we did talk about this. if your expectations, like for example, when you think about your love languages,
Mm-hmm.
now I think when your expectations, you got to look at it a little bit more carefully when those expectations are wrapped in your love language, because your your love language might be physical touch,
Mm-hmm.
but I still have to figure out what that looks like for you.
Right.
So your preference might be, Rachel, I would really like for you to rub my head when we're sitting down watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is, let's say that's an expectation for you,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I don't want to rub your head. I just want to sit there and hold your hand,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if I really want to please you,
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and rub your head.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say, Rachel, I said my love language, not yours. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
sometimes when we think about it from the perspective of my goal in this moment is to please my spouse.
right.
You see what I'm saying? So now I'm going to do that which she says pleases her.
And that's a biggie. What you just said really is the overarching theme of this as it relates to
What's going on, Melvin?
how do I know if
Yeah.
I sound how do I know if my expectations are unrealistic? I think at the end of the day, all of us should be trying to please our significant other.
Yes. Should give
Bottom
it.
line,
Should
in
be
any
giving it
way.
every effort we
Right.
have.
It's not like we should be looking for things that we don't want to do.
Right.
Oh, I don't like that one. I don't like that one. Try this one again. Try that one again. You really, if at all possible,
Mm-hmm.
you should try to please them.
Yeah. And listen. So let me look into the camera when I say
Uh
this.
oh, he's trying to get deep.
We're not suggesting that when you're trying to meet your significant other's needs, it's going to be easy for you, especially if it's something you haven't trained yourself to do. But we are definitely saying it is necessary for you start training yourself. It is no longer acceptable for us to deny our spouse of things that we could easily give if we only changed this about the situation.
But many times we like to hold it hostage. We actually manipulate the situation and control the situation um based on what's going on. You know what? I know
Mm-hmm.
he likes this, but I'm not going to give it to him. I mean, we've all been guilty of that at some point or another.
You I just
Jimmy, you're going in a territory
okay, I'm sorry.
that you're not going to like it, cuz we don't stay on camera the whole night.
Right.
We actually do real life after this.
You're
So
right.
go there if you want to, boo boo.
I'm done.
You done?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. But sometimes we hold things hostage thinking that, because we want to get control, like, okay,
Mm.
well, I'm not going to do this because they
Ah,
didn't do this, or I'm tired of being the one.
right,
And that's
right.
that's the flip side
I,
of that coin.
yeah,
Sometimes it's imbalance where one person is constantly meeting
or
uh
they at least they feel that way.
but in this example I'm giving, it
Mm-hmm.
could be one person that really is meeting the expectations of their spouse. So their spouse is like, I'm doing just fine. Meanwhile, the other person in that relationship is like, wow, I mean, can I get one thing that I
Mm-hmm.
would like to
Right,
have in this relationship?
right.
So when you, at the end of the day, you got to think about the love of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're married and the two becomes one, and a husband should be loving his wife as Christ loves the church,
Mm-hmm.
and the wife should be respecting her husband,
Mm-hmm.
then there shouldn't be a thing of, I'm going to ration out, what I want, what I'm gonna do for you.
Right.
Life is gonna happen, conflict's gonna happen.
Did you say ration?
Ration.
I'm serious. I hate that word.
You hate that word?
What?
Sometimes you gotta ration. There are
Mm.
different
You
things you gotta
you
ration on.
ration salt.
Because
You don't ration
you don't want to
love.
be excessive. You want to have balance,
That's
baby.
why you ration salt, not love. There's no
I
such
wasn't
thing
talking
as
about
excessive
rationing
love.
love, baby. I wasn't talking about rationing love.
What you talking about rationing?
You really want to have this conversation in front of these folks?
Well, the people say this is relationship real talk.
The people say right now, what I see the people saying is you have to learn your partner. You're exactly right.
That's right.
Yes, communication is the key. The love language only works when we know what you really want.
And when I tell you, go on do it.
She said, Angela said, Lord, no more Victoria's Secrets. I have to go to Fredericks of Hollywood. Let me tell you something. She just dated herself. Do they even still have Fredericks of Hollywood open? I remember walking by that store as a kid thinking, wow, they got some stuff in there. But yes, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to spice it up.
Right.
But that whole expectation thing is big, because sometimes people could end up unhappy in a relationship because they don't feel as if any of their expectations are being met.
Right, and that's why with this question, I really didn't want to. I don't like giving people outs because there are such things as unrealistic expectations, right? But then on the flip side, there are some things that are clearly reasonable, but you're
Right.
choosing to make them unreasonable.
You trying to find something.
Right.
So
right.
these 5 things that I said, it's not for you to just try to find something. Don't expect them to think like you.
Right.
Don't think your marriage is going to be completely perfect
Because
and
it's
never have
not.
any conflict.
Mhm.
Don't expect your spouse to be perfect and never make mistakes. Kind of like, Rachel, how could you forget that? I told you that already.
Well,
As if
Rachel, I
he's
thought you
never been in
said-
this situation
I
before
thought you
where I
said-
done told him something and he act like I hadn't told him 50 million
I
times.
thought you
And I
just
gotta
said-
stay calm and keep my composure. Y'all, let me tell you something. Don't take I'm trying to tame the beast. I'm trying to keep it in, but my
Carla.
husband was poking the bear.
Carla, tell my Jimbo, say hello to
Hello
the
to the basement. And the basement is an unfinished basement. Ain't no drywall down there. Don't play with me. Listen, this Caribbean woman will come out
Girl, well,
real quick.
If I'm gonna be in the basement, we gonna be in the basement.
That's right. Feliz spelled under.
I don't know.
That's to the Haitians that are out there.
Didn't the Bible say don't speak in tongues unless somebody can interpret?
All right. I can interpret
Carla,
it for
what'd
you.
she say?
I can interpret it for you. I told him Feliz spell. But yes, you expect both of you to feel the same. And I think we're guilty of that. And of course, expecting your marriage to work out, it's just going to work out. Things are just going to fall into place.
Right.
You got to put in the work. Anything worth having is worth working for.
Girl,
I truly believe that.
No, because that's a fact. Those are facts.
Anything worth having is worth working for.
If you want something beautiful, you're gonna have to work at it.
That's right.
If you want something solid, you're gonna have to work at it. If you want something true, you're gonna have to work at it. So, and here's the key: most of the work takes place inside of us. Most of the work is going to take place inside of us.
Hold on, let me pull up my recorder and so you can say that again in my recorder. Say that one more time.
Rich, I don't need to say that in front of the recorder because it's right there on Facebook.
No, I want to have it in hand. And because my phone is usually close by.
Most of the work has to take place inside of us. And most of us want the work to take place inside of our significant other.
That's right.
That's right. But that's the reality is we need to be focused on on how we need to grow internally. That's right. So if the mindset changes to what am I bringing to the table to help the marriage thrive?
The hard part is, the only hard part in that is if both individuals are not willing to do that reflection,
right,
and to put it into action. Because I've seen in many instances where one person is the one that's like, I just want my marriage to be better. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And they're hurting. And the other person's like, I'm tired. I'm over it. I'm not trying to, or whatever the reason is. It just goes so much better. You can get off that vicious cycle.
Yeah.
If both people, doesn't mean you're going to do it perfectly, because you're not perfect. We serve a perfect God. We serve a God who can help you through those ebbs and flows of life. He can help align those expectations. But faith, we were talking about this today. Faith is an action word. Let me just talk about my son just for a second. I think it's so relevant to what we're talking about. He said his prayer request has been, Lord, help me to be more transparent. And what's the second one? It's 2 of them, baby. It's one of them is help me to be more transparent, and something else I can't remember right now. And his dad had to tell him the other day, because it was something that he did, and be thorough. That's what it was.
That's right. Transparent and thorough.
Thorough. And what he had to remind him was, it's like he just kind of expects it to happen. Like the Lord is going to bring down transparency and thoroughness on his lap, and it's going to be. He may want that, and he may actually pray about that, but it is not activated until his faith is activated. It is an action word. Faith is an action word. The door is not going. The door. If you just sit and look at a closed door, and you don't move, it may never open. But if you move towards that closed door, which is counterintuitive, because many people don't want to walk towards a door that's closed because you don't want to run into it. And that's where your fears come in. And with God, you cannot have fear.
That's why they put doorknobs on them. You got to walk to the door and turn it,
Yeah,
and then it may
hey,
open.
and sometimes the
If
Lord
it's
just open that
locked,
thing.
that means it wasn't meant for you to go
That's
through.
right.
You know,
That's
so
right.
so so we take for granted the work that has to be done when it comes to our relationships on any form. And the overarching theme to all of these questions is we have to be willing to change. Whatever our mindset is or was at the time of whatever conflict, if we're not willing to change our thought process and our behavior, all we're doing is just repurposing the same problems over and over again. They're just going to appear in another way. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So I am just excited.
Can we
Uh,
check our inbox from here?
I did. Nothing's in there.
Okay, so we're good. I wanted
Yeah,
to make sure we
nothing's in
weren't
there.
ignoring the
I've added up.
people.
No, but guys, look, we really do appreciate you all. We think these are some great questions. We thank you with some great comments, and
Comments and
as usual,
conversations.
you all are masterful at coming on in the living room with us. Oh Lord, look at this.
What?
Carol said, Pastor, they don't want to be uncomfortable. None of us want to be uncomfortable. Let the truth be told. Do you know what I mean?
Truth be told.
When we get uncomfortable, we shy away from change. You know what I'm saying? If it's unfamiliar,
That's right.
we'll shy away from it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Most of us live in dysfunction because it's familiar.
That's right.
We don't even like it. But I know that one. I don't want to venture into something I don't know. So let me stay in this dysfunction.
And that's why, and I feel impressed to say this. There's something in education. There's a concept. I can't remember the book right now, but the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when you have a fixed mindset, let's just think of it this way: you found the Lord, or he wasn't lost, you were, and you're a Christian, you're Bible believing, you go to church. I've arrived. Whew, everything's great. We're having worship, we're having devotion, we're spending time with God.
Magically, there will be no more problems on earth now that I'm saved.
Now that I'm saved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I have a problem, but okay, Lord, you gonna work it out.
Right.
You gonna work it out.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, this Christian walk is a growth process. It's not fixed, it's not set.
Right.
So you can't have the attitude of there's no more work that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
See, the work that needs to be done, and I think my husband pretty much just said it in his own words, the work that needs to be done within your marriage is the work that needs to be done in you. The work that needs to be done in your marriage is the work that needs to be done in you.
Yes.
And if there's work to be done in you, then that still means there's some growth to take place.
Baby, you felt that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Let me tell you how I know you felt that, because this is what you did. You bounced with it.
Baby, I didn't look like that when I did it. and y'all give me some thumbs up and hearts, because that right there, baby, that's gonna make you end up in the basement, because that didn't look too good.
Baby,
right
you
there.
bounced. I'm telling you.
But honestly, we have to remember and be intentional in our thinking that God, you're not finished with me yet.
Yes. Or you're not finished with him or her yet.
Right. But you can't control him or her, but you can control you.
Right.
And be open to the growth and the work that it takes as you move to that growth. I always say, of course, we all want to be in the kingdom. Well, I know I do.
Mm-hmm.
And my family and friends and loved ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I truly believe it's the destination. The journey is just the icing on the cake,
right,
for all that we went through on this earth, right? But it's that destiny.
The destination is the icing on the cake.
The destination is the icing on the cake. Mm-hmm. Thank you. The journey is the refining of that character.
Yes.
Because that's all you're gonna take. I mean, he's gonna give you a new robe, and everything's gonna be new. But you gotta refine that character as we move in this Christian journey. Why are you looking at the dog?
Because he's stretching and about to pull the light.
Y'all probably didn't notice, but when we broadcast, our dog sits right here.
Yeah, he sits right under our feet.
He's not barking. He's not a barker unless he hears somebody.
The doorbell.
Yeah, the doorbell, or he want to bark at some squirrels outside.
That's his trigger.
But he just want to be by his family. I love it.
But look, guys, seriously, in closing, we just want you all to know that our hearts are really fixed on having a healthy and thriving relationship. And that is really our goal for those of you who are watching and supporting us. That's why we come every week to give you guys some information that hopefully you can absorb, and then implement into your relationship so you can take it to the next level. I don't believe marriages should just survive. Surviving is supposed to be temporary. That is while the trauma is in place, you survive it, right? But after that trauma is over, then you have to start thriving. How do we take this to the next level? I don't want to wake up looking at my wife just feeling like, oh, she woke up.
I wish he would.
you know,
I wish he
so
would wake up looking at me like that, because he would have to go back to sleep, eternal rest.
right. So my goal is to allow God to do within me what needs to be done so I can present to the relationship the best that I have, right? And I think when we all ask God to do that in us, we will start to see a gradual change in our relationship, a gradual shift in the way that we even view our relationship and our spouse. Because I'm telling you, we've said it several times within the last 5 minutes. The greater work of taking your marriage from where it is to where you desire it to be is the work that's within you.
And let me just say this to you people. Some of you who've been watching us for some time, you probably heard us say this before. But we don't only speak to you. We speak to
Amen.
ourselves.
Amen.
Especially to him. And God is
Ouch.
God has a sense of humor, because he knows that the very struggles that we have, if we're going to speak to you guys about it, then we got to bring ourselves into subjection as well.
Amen.
It's
Amen.
very difficult for me. I've never considered myself a fake person. I tried, it's not even I try to be real. Like, I just don't like to deal in fakeness.
Right.
And so it'd be very hard for me. See, now the dog want to act like he gonna show out after we done bragged on him. If you don't sat down somewhere, y'all, he right here. Um, but yeah, I have to be willing. Baby, what was I saying? He done complete.
You know you can't do two things at one time, girl.
Yeah. Yeah, we about to have a real relationship, real talk after show. Boy, I will have 50 million things going on, firing on all cylinders.
The people just saw that.
You the one that's like, wait, babe, wait. You Where did that come from? You're talking about one thing, now you're talking about something else. The women understand where I'm talking about. We can have one conversation. We start at A, B, D, go to G, F, go to Z, and come back around and finish A and wrap it all up.
Well, let me finish this.
Catch up.
Go to Miss Chisley's comment. Read that.
Catch up. She said, a glass of wine and Netflix tonight under the arms of my man.
That's right, Miss Chisley. I want you all to enjoy tonight.
Yes.
And at the end of the under the arms, take your relationship to the next level. Mr. Chisley, you're welcome. That is from my gift to you.
Oh, so you think you just gave him something? Because she done said Netflix and wine.
She didn't say chill. We want the chill
we
part
understand.
too.
Do you not see the kisses and the hearts? She made it very clear. Baby, do you remember what I was saying though? Like, for real, I feel a sense of incompletion.
No.
You guys, what you have just witnessed is that my husband doesn't listen to me. And that now I remember. That's perfect. I was saying that the whole thing about we have to we speak to ourselves too.
Yes.
Doing this is therapy for us as well.
It is.
Because literally, as we were sitting here getting our earphones and all that, he said something that got on my nerves.
Whoa, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you
did.
did.
You just saw the way I looked and then you got mad.
Because I don't even know why you had to look like that.
I was busy.
No. Well, I'm not even going to continue the conversation. But I was irritated, and I immediately had to like reach deep down within my spirit and say, Lord, the people need me today. So I have to put aside my own irritations for the moment. And it wasn't anything that was deep, it was surface, and move on. So we minister to ourselves as we minister to you.
And that's for real. I think anyone in ministry can, if they're honest, whatever God is giving them to give to the people, it is for their benefit as well too. And so that's why we often tell you all on here in any presentation that we're doing, we're not sitting in seats of judgment.
Right.
When we're talking to other people, we're sitting in a seat of observation.
We're vessels.
That's it. We're not judging. We're not judging anything. We are literally observing whatever situation that's before us, and we're offering the information that God has given us through biblical principles or practical application. So, and just because we have been given this platform and this skill doesn't mean that we're perfect, and doesn't mean that we always get it right. But what it does mean is, I firmly believe God gifted us this ministry to save us. That's my firm
Mm.
belief.
And y'all, I'm making it to the kingdom because
Hmm.
this ministry right here, 24/7, baby.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm gonna make it to the kingdom
yeah.
with my family and husband.
Yeah, yeah. So guys, before we close, we just want to tell you guys, we truly, truly do appreciate you all. You all are amazing. Pastor Mitchell, thank you so much for the support that you've given us. You and your congregation have been amazing since the first time you've been on the show. It has just been amazing. So thank you guys so much for your support.
Um,
Angela Ruffin,
yeah, she said
you
she's sending her love. She says she
real
loves
deep,
Rachel and Jimmy. Real
yeah,
deep, real talk. We
yeah,
love you too. Like
yeah.
honestly, I don't think y'all understand how much it means to because we're people, and we like to have conversation. Even though we're doing this and we didn't have a guest on today,
Hmm.
we literally feel like you're here in the living
Yeah,
room
because that's what it
because
is.
you're talking to us.
Yes.
Those of you who are constantly active, Carla, Angela, Pastor
Yes.
Mitchell,
Dion.
Latrechelle, Dion. I mean, we really do appreciate that feedback. And thank you so much. Those of you who are not commenting, we don't think that you're not into it. So we appreciate you just sitting there listening
Right.
and getting whatever you can from it. But continue to keep us in prayer as
Mhm.
we keep you guys in prayer in your relationships, whether you're married or not. We have single people who listen to us. And
Exactly.
and I think it's a smart thing because sometimes single people are like, when are y'all gonna do something for singles? Yeah, there's some targeted ministry for single people. However, if you kind of want to know, why not? If you knew the lotto numbers, if you had insight to what the numbers would be, I'm not telling y'all to gamble, Christian people, but I'm just saying.
Using it as an
I'm
example.
using it as an example. If
Hmm.
that's you, that's you. But if you knew the numbers, would you not play those numbers before so you can get that so many billions of dollars?
Hmm.
So why not listen to couples who have various experiences and you can glean something from that. So if God so permits and you that's what you want for your life, you have an arsenal of information
Right.
that
Right.
you've been able to expose yourself to.
And so,
Thank you, Pastor Mitchell.
and it's
Mhm.
something else that I love to, because I'm not a selfish person, and I understand that you know some people may not necessarily connect to our style of ministry, right?
That's right.
So we
That's
want to
right.
give you all some other people that you can look for on social media. Facebook, you can look for um um
I'm putting up my shirt.
let's, yeah, oh, and that's our family there. That's
We over me,
yeah,
Shannon and Shirley,
yeah, they work with
Angela's people.
what, give them the name of the ministry, their ministry,
Oh, they're Marriage Inc.
yeah, Marriage Inc.
Marriage Inc.
And then
Shannon and
we have
Shirley
Married for Real with
with Latroy and
Latroy and
Christina Brown.
Christina Brown. These are some powerful ministries. We also want to look at our friends, Denali,
Yeah,
uh,
Denali, Denise
yeah,
and Oliver.
Denise and Oliver, Denali, and it is spelled Denoli, Denali. They're on Facebook as well. These are all people that give some powerful, powerful information
And have
concerning,
great conversation
right, concerning building our
because
relationships.
this relationship thing, like we always say, we're not in competition with one another. There are plenty of people out there who need some relationship talk and relationship advice and support.
Right.
So
Well, and I didn't say a couple because I thought it was automatic since we've been calling them out all day. But Pastor Mitchell and Sean,
right,
Dietrich and
right.
Sean Mitchell, they are amazing as well. Not only are you going to get powerful relationship information from Pastor Mitchell and First Lady, you're also going to get the Word of God. And
Yes.
so you can't ever go wrong with that combination.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we really, really want you. So in essence, what we're doing is we're making it hard for you to have an excuse not to be helped.
Have mercy.
That's why I'm giving you all of these resources, because God has provided people who love to see others grow, and we don't have an excuse not to grow now.
Yes. And as you're talking, babe, I'm thinking about, and I know we got to go in a second, but I think about how good God is and his infinite wisdom.
Mhm.
Sometimes people tend to think of technology as a bad thing. Think about the lives that have been touched,
Hmm.
enriched through technology, not just on this platform, but all kinds of
Yeah.
platforms. And I think a lot of times people took it for granted or looked at it as These are the ones who are not on social media or what
Right.
have you. It's like, oh, I don't want to get on that. Or it's not inherently good or bad. It's all in how you use it.
That's it.
And you can use it for God's good. And I'm just so thankful that even in a pandemic, we didn't miss a beat.
Well, yeah, because we had been doing it
We
already.
had been doing it and we were able to continue to minister and bring more people.
And here's the thing. My prayer for Pastor Mitchell and Sean is that their membership will increase. Because see, here's what they have
Thank
done
you, Lord.
over this pandemic. I'm not talking about just your physical membership each week. I'm talking about your social media membership. Because see, now churches and pastors should wise up and say, do you know how many members we can get now via social media?
You shouldn't be churching the same.
Right.
You
Your
should,
church ministry should look
Yes.
totally different.
Yes.
And so now that we have this technology, do you know how many people you can reach over the world with the click of a button now? And Pastor Mitchell them have jumped on another platform that makes everything look better. It sounds great. It looks good. And why not have your own TV evangelistic program?
That's right.
When all you really have to do is invest the time and the effort to plan it and then stream it.
And this gospel of the kingdom,
That's it.
shall be preached to all the world.
That's it.
Unto all nations, then shall the end come. There was a time where we only, like you said, expected people who were on TV and who had, broadcast companies to do that. How empowered are we?
Yes.
To be able to use it. And those of you who your ministry may not be, I'm gonna get on and do a Facebook Live.
Right. It doesn't have to be that.
But your ministry might simply be texting messages. You can text messages to hundreds of thousands of people if that's your ministry.
Well, look, the way that this stuff is set up, if you are a pastor, we're not asking you to do extra. Just log on to Facebook and then set the camera up so it can stream your sermon or your service.
That's right.
I mean, it is so simple now to do.
That's
and
right.
Watch what God does in return.
That's right.
God says he's not coming back until his word has reached everyone. Why are we belaboring that?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
And nowadays, people, I mean, when things get rough, or even let's say you don't have the funding, start off with a phone.
Somebody say, won't he
do it? Start off with your phone. But when God honors our faithfulness.
That's right.
That's what I love about the God we serve. He honors your faithfulness. And even if things don't turn out the way you thought, he's still good. But if he sees you're saying, you know what, right now our church don't have money for fancy cameras, but shoot, I got this camera on my phone, or I got this. And before you know it, he will open up the windows and pour you out a blessing that you will not have room enough to receive it. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. He will do exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think. We didn't plan to have this part of the conversation, but we hope it blessed somebody this evening.
So, guys, thank you again for tuning in. And until next week, peace. Y'all be blessed.
Peace out, rabbit ears.